everybody. This is Bob Kingpin Harris with another edition of Pro Sports Broadcasting. And joining me today, seems like we do this all the time or every year around this time, it's Derrick Hall, the president, the CEO of the Arizona Diamondbacks. How are you, Derrick?
Kingpin, I'm doing great. Yeah, we should do this every year. It's always nice to be on with you.
Yeah, it's always lots of fun. And you know what I have to say right now is I'm glad that you've had a boring off season.
Yeah, we were a bit busy, but you know the beauty of our off season is we made it pretty clear what our goals were and what our targets were, and I think we were able to accomplish everything that we had on our wish list.
Well, you started off with Zach Greinke, bringing him into the fold. An amazing pitcher. The guy is great, and I think what he really brings to this team. Forget the 19 wins, the 20 wins that he's going to have. But he brings a focus to this team. He is so professional that even today, and really one of his first days that he's thrown, is that everything was just very, I don't want to say mechanical, but the professionalism, I guess, was right there, even with the follow-throughs that he was having.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what you're going to get from him. He is a pro for sure. He's a student of the game. He loves the game. He's very analytical. And knowing just how methodical he is, I mean, he had a plan going into that bullpen. And it's nice for him to be able to rub off on all of the other players. It's going to be a contagion, I hope, and that's typically what we've seen. When you bring an ace in to a rotation and it moves everybody back another slot in that rotation, it takes the pressure and the ease and the burden off of them, but it also, they become like a sponge, and they really soak up what he does to become such a success. And, just an incredible story that Tony La Russa told just, a week or two ago when he came in here and he heard that Zach was in town visiting for a day or two. And Zach came out here and he worked out and he threw. He then forgot to have a conversation with him that he wanted to. He went back downstairs. Zach was in the video room, but he wasn't watching video of himself or any of the opposition. He was watching video of the other four guys that are slated to be in the rotation, because he wanted to know more about them and how to help them as well. It's incredible.
Yeah, and one of the things that I wrote down today, and I don't usually write things down, right? Everything I do is conversational. But I had to write down leading by example, because your team is full, and the Diamondbacks team is full of guys that lead by example. You have Greinke now, and it's kind of interesting that he wanted to see the other pitchers. And it must be because he might want to help them. He seems like a leader by example. You have Goldie, you've got Pollock, you got Peralta. You have a team full of leaders by example.
That's a great point, Bob, and I'm very proud of those guys, and they really are. I mean, since Goldie's been here, he's definitely led by example. He's the guy that is here before everybody in the morning. He's the last one to leave. He's in the video room as much as possible, trying to correct anything that he can see that needs correcting, although there's very little correction needed when it comes to Goldie's game. You mentioned other guys, and I think of other leaders on this team like Ziegler. I look at the silent leaders like a Patrick Corbin, who was phenomenal on the mound when I watched him as well with his bullpen. It's there's a lot of silent leadership. Just get the job done, come in, be all about business, and pick each other up. There's not a lot of horseplay, which can be good and bad. You want to have a good, fun culture. It's a family, but these guys are all business, and I've always been proud of their approach.
Well, I think with Chip Hale, you're going to have fun and business mixed together, and that's just
Definitely.
the type of guy that he is. And then you go out, and you're not done spending money. I mean, you spend, as we've heard, in the area of $200 million for Zach. And you know what? I would say in today's market, that's pretty good, because he's really the leader of your team.
Well, he's phenomenal, and it was a huge investment for us. But the one thing that we've been missing is an ace. And when you look at teams that are going to go far in the playoffs or teams that have succeeded here with us, you of course had the teams of the late 90s, early 2000s with Randy. We did really well with Brandon Webb while he was healthy and was our true ace. And then Ian Kennedy had that amazing 20-win season in 2011, along with Daniel Hudson, who was a strong 1-2 combination for him. And we needed that. So we went out and got Zach, who I think was the best available free agent, along with Price. But after we signed Zach, we knew we had to do something else, and that's when we got creative through the trade market and went after Shelby Miller because we heard he was available. And there were a lot of teams that were competitive and going after Shelby Miller. But this is a guy who is only 25 years of age and, controllable and, hard power throwing pitcher and a guy that fits perfectly into that rotation, be it 2 or 3, depending on what you want to do with Corbin if you want to break up right, left, right. But it's nice to have a power arm to go along with a very smart, finesse-like pitcher like Zach Greinke.
And you did mention Shelby Miller. I just showed his picture up there a second ago. Here's a guy who had some real tough luck last year.
Yeah.
The record doesn't reflect the type of pitcher that he is, and he truly is a number 2 and possibly on a number of teams a number 1.
Yeah, he was definitely the ace, Bob, last year for that Braves team and was an all-star as a result. His ERA was unbelievable. You look at his numbers, hard to match. And, he just didn't get a lot of help in the win column. But that's a very young team that was rebuilding and a team that was suffering from injuries. So he didn't get a lot of run support. But if you looked at those numbers or if you place those numbers now into a rotation like ours, you're going to see a lot better results. And if he's able to pitch like he did last year, he's going to get those wins.
And if this team, the Diamondbacks, hits like they did last year, he's going to get a lot of wins. Absolutely.
Let's hope so. Knock on wood. But it was an offense that was top 3 last year. You look at this team, and there was a lot to be excited about. Fans were really excited about this team to be top 3 in offense, 1 or 2 in defense all year long. And we knew again that the big glaring holes to fill were really with starting pitching. Yet we were still happy about the acquisitions we had made in the offseason with these young pitchers that were being developed, guys like Robbie Ray, Ruby De La Rosa, who are coming along. But again, let's take that pressure off of them as they develop. Now they're going to get into that 200-plus inning type routine. And while doing so, now they're at the back end of your rotation rather than the front end. And you bring in experience, you bring in veterans who can now fill it in at the top for them.
Well, I'm more excited, I think, this year than I have been in many years around the Diamondbacks, because I really think that this is going to be a fun year to cover them, and definitely a fun year for the fans out there. I mean, you got to get out to the park this year.
I certainly hope so. I agree with you, and our fans are showing a great deal of buzz out there throughout the entire state. They seem appreciative of what we've done. That the Giants have been right along stride with us, making improvements to their team. I think we're in the toughest division by far. The NL West, it's still the Dodgers division, whether we want to say it or not. I mean, they continue to win the division. The Giants have shown they're the class of the division by winning the World Series. It seems like every other year. And now the improvements we've made, it's going to be tight. And I think that buzz is warranted. But we have to remember we haven't won a single game. We haven't accomplished one of our goals yet. We got to remain as humble and focused as possible.
I don't see that happening, and Chip's not going to let that focus get away from him, that's for sure.
I think you're right.
I have to tell you a little story, because this is the first time it's happened to me, and I was in Orlando about a month ago. And I go up to the counter, and the guy says, where are you from? I said, from Chandler, Arizona. Chandler, the Diamondbacks. The first thing out of his mouth was the Diamondbacks. Awesome. He goes, and I have to tell you, he goes, ever since Tony La Russa went over the Diamondbacks, I have been so interested, and I keep track of them. I said, and I just so happened it was the day after, I believe I was there the day after we were at the Greinke press conference, and I said, you got to see the picture, right? I'm showing him the picture of the press conference there, and I said, it's going to be fun. Tony's a great guy. I said, as you used to see him on TV, he looked like a really tough guy, and everything else, but he's really one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet. And yeah, it's going to be fun at the Diamond. This is really before the only thing that was announced then was the Greinke.
It was Greinke.
Yeah.
And funny, because a few weeks back I was in Orlando, of all places, like you said, and I was there for a Make-A-Wish America meeting, because I'm on the board for that charity, and I'm on a monorail going from one destination to a hotel there within the kingdom, Magic Kingdom. And this couple across from me, they're looking, they're shaking their heads, and one woman says, are you Mr. Hall? And I said, well, yes, I am. They said, yeah, we're Cubs fans. We go down to spring training to watch our Cubs, and we see you. And by the way, we really wanted the Cubs to get Zach Greinke, and I can't believe you guys got him. She said, but we'll see you in the playoffs.
Well, we'll see about that. We know we'll be there. So the next guy, you go out then and you get a shortstop, Segura. Now, you did trade a fan favorite who's been here for a while, Hall, but you got Segura, a guy who's a former All-Star. And a guy who I feel like he really needed this change.
I totally agree with you. I mean, this is a guy who we even looked at last year, and he's had some tough personal issues with family loss and tragedy, and he's supposed to be just a wonderful kid. All of our scouting reports on him were great, both on the field and off, and he's somebody that brings a lot of versatility. He could play middle infield, second, or short. You're right, he was an all-star just in 2013. He's a guy that can hit for power. He can hit for average. He's got a lot of speed. Good defender, good base runner. Just a very all-around smart player. And it's tough to part with a guy like Aaron, who did a lot for not only the organization but our community.
Yes.
But this is somebody now who's going to come in and compete. And with the depth that we have in the middle infield, I think it's just yet another strength on this team. And there's a lot of chips to play this spring. So it's going to be fun to see how that all sorts out.
Yeah, and that middle infield is stacked. I mean, you have more guys. Well, I can't say that you know what to do with, but you do have a lot of middle infielders, and us in the media are already playing with this. That we really think that Segura is going to wind up playing second, and Ahmed's going to wind up, or Owings. I mean, you're so stacked.
Either way, it's so tough to see either of those guys not at shortstop when you look at both CO with Owings and Nick Ahmed. I've never seen a shortstop with such a glove and such range. This guy's unbelievable. And you ask yourself, are you okay if he hits 215, 220, 225? Probably. And he's a much better hitter than that. So we know he's eventually going to be a 250 hitter or better. But, you can sacrifice that with him getting there and developing because he's so good and takes away hits and runs out in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Derrick, then you go out, and I'm going to put up his picture here, and then you get of course, he's not with his glasses here, but Tyler Clippard. You go out and get Tyler Clippard, and I think, this might be one of the most important moves you guys made this year. Yeah, you got Greinke. Yeah, you got Miller. But this guy, I think he can really get back to really what he is, and that's a very, very good pitcher.
I do too, and I think Tyler was probably overused last year. That's what we all believe. Velocity went down a little bit. He struggled at the end of the year, yet his first half was lights out. And he still had an ERA under 3 last year. Yeah. This is a guy who over the last 8 years, when he's been in the big leagues, he's been as effective with the best numbers of any reliever really in baseball, other than closers that have just been dominant. But with the season that Brad Ziegler had last year, obviously you want to give him the ball in the 9th inning, and he was so effective in that role. But then we wanted to go out and see if we could add depth to the back end of the bullpen with a guy that could set up, with a guy who could pitch in the 7th, 8th, or 9th. And that's really who Tyler Clippard is. But he's got a tremendous amount of experience. He's done nothing but good, positive, and shown success throughout his entire career. We're very lucky to have him.
And then it goes along with all the prospects that you have. I mean, you still have Peter O'Brien out there, right? Peter O'Brien, who hit like 26 or 27 home runs, whatever he did, down in AAA last year, playing the outfield, still catches a little bit. And you just have a bunch of prospects and a bunch of great pitchers. You got Marshall, who's trying to make that comeback. And watched him today, and I know you were right behind him in
looked great.
Bullpen. He looks really good.
Yeah, he does. We've got Bracho and Burgos and LeConte and just, name all the relievers we have, and the depth in that you have at starting pitching with Archie Bradley, who looks like, this is going to be a big year for him. He's bounced back from his injury, and you got Shipley and you got Godleaf, who we received in a trade before, and you look at the depth we have in the minors now with Drury and with Lamb, or at the major league level, as they both could project. I agree with you. And, for us to have had all of this talent, that allowed us to be able to make the moves that we did, like for Shelby Miller. And, you mentioned Peter O'Brien. This is a guy that clubs call on because he's got such tremendous offensive ability and such power. He came up at the end of last year as a September call-up.
Yep.
And showed right away what an offensive force he could be. And so it's going to be fun to watch him this spring. Is he going to play more outfield, more catcher? I love our depth, and I love our minor league system right now, and the different ways that we can go. Great possibilities. And
there's a lot of positions still up for grabs. I think that it'll be a very interesting spring training because and let's not. I can't forget you brought in a brand new pitching coach this year, and he is one of the best.
Mike Butcher, Butch as we call him, I think he's definitely top 5 in Major League Baseball. For us to have had the opportunity to get him, and for a guy that lives here in Arizona, it was a perfect fit for him as well. He's somebody who's shown so much success. The development of his pitchers, the comfort level of the pitchers with him, his leadership that he displayed while with the Angels, and now over here he's already made a direct impact. This is somebody who worked with Greinke in the past when he was with the Angels. But I agree with you on Butcher. Garvin now out in the bullpen, having come from the A's, and the addition of Dave Magadan, too, as our pitching coach, having played with Gracie, having had the relationship with Mark Grace, now the two of them really directing our offense and the hitters. I couldn't be happier with the changes to the coaching staff and their perfect fits with Chip Hale and his young crew.
Now, I do have to mention, today I was out there in spring training, and I saw you out there on the other side of the pitching mound, and I did see you talking a lot with Randy Johnson, and I thought, I saw Randy Johnson really for the first time out there last year, and he didn't seem to be that vocal or making recommendations or chatting it up, but this year I did see a difference in Randy, and I did see him talking quite a bit.
Yeah, Randy is. It's interesting to see just how comfortable and loose he has become since his retirement. Randy was so intense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, as you know, as a player, and for him now to be on this side and to be one of my special assistants, and what he loves to do more than anything, Bob, is to go out and work with to go around and spend time at all the minor league teams, all the minor league levels, all of our affiliates throughout baseball. And, I couldn't be prouder watching him today interact with the pitcher. Watching pitchers want to turn to him and ask for help as well. I watched what influence he had on Robbie Ray last year. It's just been great.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I let you go, I do have to ask one last question.
All right.
Why win now? It seems like the emphasis this year has been winning now.
Yeah.
And you have such depth, or you had a lot of depth within the minor leagues and your prospects. But why is it now?
Yeah, and I don't know that it's so much about the urgency of now. I mean, some people are asking, are you focused on this year and next year only? This is really a 5 to 10 year thing that we're building here. We want it to be sustainable. We want to last, and that's why we're bringing in so many prospects. Last year, we were the youngest team in baseball. So by bringing in a few, experienced veterans, I think it just balances things out, and we do have a better chance to win now. But I think this is for the long haul. I do see, though, that we have a window right now with some of the best players in the game on our roster. When you have Paul Goldschmidt here in his prime, when you have A.J. Pollock, almost 30 years old, 28 in his prime, you want to win, and you want to surround them with the best possible talent you can. And, you're looking at having a team right now that's got 4 or 5 past All-Stars. That's pretty impressive. So I think we're going to compete, hopefully contend, really with anybody, but it should be a really exciting period of time for hopefully, as I said, at least the next 10 years, Bob.
And one last question here before I let you go. Our friend Gonzo.
Yeah.
He's just been promoted by you. And talk a little bit about him. I mean, he's one of the greatest guys I know, period.
He's just that. I mean, I think he's such an ambassador, not only for us, but for the game of baseball, for Major League Baseball. I've been around players for, 25 years. I've never seen anybody as uniquely generous and hospitable as Luis Gonzalez. And I couldn't be more proud of watching him, the interaction that he's had with our front office, with the baseball operations staff, with all of our fans. This guy, he's a lifelong D-back. He really is the D-backs, and he is going to be such a good influence, as he already has been, and role model on all of our young players. It's, you want to be a good major leaguer, you want to be a good fan, friendly player, look to this guy. Look at number 20. You'll understand what it means to be a pro, and you'll understand what it takes to one day have your number retired at Chase Field like he has.
Absolutely. And, I always appreciate you coming on with me, and enjoy this. It has been almost every year that we've done this, and
we're going to do it every year.
Yeah, we look
enjoy
forward
it too, Kingpin, and you're very good. You're good at what you do, and we appreciate the time you give us.
Hey, listen, love the D-backs, right? First of all, love the D-backs, right? We'll throw that number one, but I love baseball. And
I know you do.
Before bowling, I was a pitcher. Okay.
Yeah.
With the dream of being a major league pitcher. Of course, never got that chance. But but took up bowling instead. Oh, well.
You did pretty well there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But keep up the great work, and look forward to seeing you out here as much as you possibly can. We love having you here.
Absolutely. Play a little music, get us out of here. And Derrick, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Bob.